When Kim Kardashian steps into a room, the world expects perfection. The flawless hair, the immaculate skin, the quiet confidence of a woman who built an empire out of discipline, ambition, and relentless motion. But beneath the glamorous armor and the carefully curated calm, something far darker was unfolding, something even she could no longer hide. And when the truth finally surfaced on a recent episode of The Kardashians, it sent a chill through millions of viewers. Kim Kardashian had been diagnosed with a brain aneurysm, and doctors warned her that stress could kill her. It was a confession unlike anything she'd ever shared, raw, unfiltered, and haunting. For a woman who built her life on the idea that she could withstand anything, this time she wasn't sure. Kim revealed the news quietly, almost too quietly, sitting across from her sister Kourtney. It wasn't a headline or an attention-grabbing moment. It was simply the truth coming out of a woman who looked like she had already spent months trying to process it on her own. She explained that the aneurysm was discovered after a routine MRI, part of the full-body scans she had made a non-negotiable part of her health rituals. What started as a casual checkup spiraled into a life-altering conversation, one she had never expected. Doctors found a small bulge in a blood vessel in her brain, something they believed had been there for years. But it wasn't the presence of the aneurysm that frightened her, it was the warning that followed. One wrong surge of stress, one emotional spike too high, and it could rupture. For someone whose entire identity has been built around high pressure, deadlines, global business deals, red carpets, film sets, travel schedules, and the non-stop chaos of raising 4 young children alone, this diagnosis wasn't just dangerous, it was terrifying. Kim's voice trembled when she told Kourtney, "I have 4 kids that depend on me. I have to be sane. It's stressful out there, but this aneurysm can't be stressed." Kourtney, usually calm and composed, looked visibly shaken. She admitted she had been worried for years about Kim's pace, her obligations, and the impossible standard she placed on herself. "She has a lot on her plate. I don't want a brain aneurysm in her future," she confessed. Her eyes filled with a fear only a sister could understand. In that moment, viewers saw something the public rarely witnesses. Kim Kardashian confronting her own mortality. Kim's next steps were immediate. She went to Cedars-Sinai Medical Center for more scans, determined to understand exactly what she was facing. During an appearance on Good Morning America, where she was promoting her upcoming film All's Fair, she tried to appear composed. She reassured fans that her health was perfect, except for the aneurysm. But for someone like Kim, perfect no longer meant the same thing. Sources close to her say that the discovery changed her in ways no camera could capture. She became more vigilant, more aware, more guarded. She began monitoring symptoms she would have dismissed before: headaches, fatigue, dizziness, even the slightest neck tension. She scaled back on unnecessary commitments, quietly pulling out of certain events and reducing her travel schedule. She added new specialists to her medical team. Every choice, every movement, every decision now had a purpose: survival. Those close to her say this was the first time they truly saw fear settle behind her iconic composure. But as Kim began to finally prioritize her healing, another emotional layer emerged, one she had been avoiding for years. The stress that doctors warned her about didn't come from her work, but from her past. And much of that past was tied to the most turbulent chapter of her life: her marriage to Kanye West. For years, Kim defended him, supported him, stood by him publicly and privately through controversy after controversy. But behind the scenes, insiders now claim that the emotional strain of the relationship was catastrophic. Kim hinted at this herself during a confessional on the show. "People think I have the luxury of walking away," she said softly. "My ex will be in my life no matter what. We have 4 kids together." It wasn't bitterness. It was exhaustion, the exhaustion of someone who had lived in a storm for years without any shelter. Their marriage, which began like a fairy tale with extravagant love declarations and artistic admiration, slowly spiraled into chaos: public meltdowns, online rants, emotional turbulence, unexpected disappearances, headlines she never asked for. Kim had stayed silent about much of it, choosing to protect her children and her dignity. But now, for the first time, she admitted something heartbreaking. She believes years of emotional stress may have contributed to her aneurysm. Her divorce from Kanye was finalized in 2022, but the emotional aftermath still lingers. "My body never truly relaxed," she confessed. Not once. Yet even before this health scare, Kim had faced another lifelong challenge, one that often left her physically scarred. For decades she battled psoriasis, a chronic autoimmune disease that caused painful, scaly skin flare-ups. Sometimes it covered her legs, her torso, even her face. Some days she couldn't walk comfortably. Other days she could barely sleep. Fans remember the dramatic flare she experienced after losing 16 pounds to fit into Marilyn Monroe's Met Gala gown, a decision heavily criticized by the public. They also recall the more recent flare-ups she endured while filming All's Fair, where stress, lack of sleep, and relentless work triggered painful reactions throughout her body. Psoriasis had always been a quiet monster in Kim's life, but now, layered with the threat of a brain aneurysm, it felt like part of a bigger pattern. Her body was speaking, and she could no longer ignore it. Still, just as Kim was finally beginning to confront her health from every angle, a new shockwave hit, one that sent her spiraling back into a fear she thought she had left behind in 2016. During an emotional moment on The Kardashians, she revealed that a prison informant uncovered an assassination plot against her. The alleged scheme was tied to someone close to her, though she didn't name the person publicly. The revelation immediately sent her back to the terror she felt during the infamous Paris robbery, when she was held at gunpoint, bound, gagged, and thrown into a bathtub by masked intruders. The memory of that night still haunts her, and this new threat reignited every nightmare. Private investigators urged her to take the danger seriously. They recommended increasing her security, expanding protection detail for her children, and limiting public movements. Kim didn't hesitate. She quietly hired additional guards. She upgraded her home security system. She placed protection near her children's schools. Sources say she even canceled several public appearances after the news broke. Kim's been through scary situations before, an insider said, but this one felt personal. It made her question everyone around her. The paranoia was suffocating. The fear was real. And for Kim, who has spent most of her life in front of cameras, trusting people suddenly felt impossible. Through all of this, the diagnosis, the stress, the threats, the emotional toll, one thing remained constant. Kim Kardashian kept going. But this time something was different. She wasn't moving out of ambition or pressure. She was moving out of necessity. She was fighting for her life in ways the public had never seen, deciding that slowing down wasn't weakness, it was survival. Behind the brand, the beauty empire, the law degree, the global fame, and the thousands who depend on her, there was a mother quietly fighting to stay alive. Someone whose children needed her. Someone whose body had reached its limit. Someone who was learning, finally, that being strong sometimes means saying no. Kim began taking intentional breaks, spending more time with her children, embracing slower mornings, limiting digital exposure, and being selective about future projects. She spoke about boundaries in a way she never had before. She even started saying "I can't," something almost unheard of in her vocabulary. Her friends and family noticed the change. She seemed softer, more reflective, more determined to protect her peace. For the first time, her humanity wasn't the thing she hid, it was the thing she embraced. But even now, questions remain. How serious is the aneurysm really? Has it grown? Is it stable? Is Kim truly slowing down? Or is she simply preparing for another chapter? Are there more threats to her safety we don't know about? And perhaps the biggest question, what will happen if her body can't keep up with the life she built? One thing is certain. Kim Kardashian's story has entered a new, deeply human chapter. One where glamour fades, vulnerability rises, and survival becomes the headline. And through it all, she stands as a reminder that even the most iconic woman in the world is still just that, a woman, a mother, a daughter, a sister, a human being who bleeds, who fears, who aches, who hopes. A woman fighting not for fame or relevance, but for time. Time with the people she loves. Time to grow. Time to live. What comes next is uncertain. But one thing is undeniable. Kim Kardashian is no longer just living her life. She is protecting it.